Your Shampoo, Chapter 2, a Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction written and narrated by Mira Rose. Artwork provided by CelisArt99 on Instagram. You can find a link to her Instagram account in the description box below. If you haven't heard the previous part of this story, you can find a link to it in the description box below. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel and give a thumbs up in support of more Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction. And leave a comment. If you don't know what to comment, how about you tell me what the scent is of your current shampoo? Also, just leave a comment on the video in general. That would be really cool. I like feedback. I like hearing if people liked things or not, so, it's just a little writer pride thing for me, I guess. Anyway, on to Chapter 2 of Your Shampoo.
What in Camembert's glory are you doing?
Adrian felt his face grow red at Plag's inquisition.
I'm, putting on deodorant. This is the 7th time today, kid.
Plag hovered in front of him in the school bathroom, letting out a burp that sounded more gentle than it smelled.
Yeah, well, Marinette hasn't...
He lowered his voice.
Marinette hasn't, sniffed you out yet?
Yeah, that. It was nearing the end of the school day, and although she'd practically draped herself across the school, she was none the wiser he was Cat Noir, because she'd barely gone within a meter of him. At this point, there was nothing more he could do to smell like himself, and he could feel a rash coming on. Oh, what a dumb reveal.
What if she gets the wrong guy?
Plag asked, fishing out another piece of cheese from his bag.
I'll fight him. You're hopeless, kid.
Perhaps, but Adrian was at his wit's end. Grabbing his things, Adrian pushed himself out of the bathroom and down the steps, taking a moment to pretend to check his phone as he passed Marinette to create a natural linger. It didn't work. Her focus was on some guy a year above them. Great. Part of him wanted to deck the tall, somehow handsome brunette wearing too many rings, and the other half wanted to spin her towards himself, take her cheeks in his hands, and yell that he's who she's looking for. Both weren't great options, and he decided to check out instead.
I'll see you tomorrow, Marinette,
he said, placing a hand on her shoulder and leaning in a little too close. He made eye contact with the guy she was talking with, who suddenly stiffened and said goodbye to her as well.
Good. Get out of here, you...
Yeah, see you Monday, Marinette said, slipping away from his touch. Was that it? His heart melted into a puddle of sorrow at the thought. Did she not check him out because she didn't want him to be Cat Noir? Did Marinette not want him, Adrian, to be her partner? No, don't think like that. Marinette's a friend, and a good one at that. You don't know that. Don't let your insecurities overwrite your realities, Adrian. Well, only one thing to do now. Adrian forewent his piano lesson, which was a shame because he'd practiced quite a bit and hated doing his teacher dirty like this, and went to the Dupain bakery, mask on. Welcome back, Kitty Noir, Sabine said, pressing a light kiss to his cheek. There's banana bread cooling in the kitchen upstairs if you'd like some.
Thanks, Mama Chang.
The thought of bananas brought a smile to his face. He'd had hours of fun teasing Marinette about banana grest, and it was now a banned subject. He got a pat on the back from Tom as he made his way upstairs, ignoring the whispers from customers gawking at him. Who's to say Paris's superheroes don't like carbs? He entered without knocking, a form of intimacy he could get used to forever. "Sup, Ladybird?" he said, catching Marinette's eyes before flopping on the couch. "Think fast!" She chucked an apple at him, and it was like nothing had changed, despite her knowing he knew her secret. "What am I, Snow Black?" he joked, taking a bite. It crushed his hopes when she opened her mouth to reply. "So, I still don't know who you are." "Oh?" "Mm-hmm. I'll have you know I wore extra deodorant today." She leaned in. "Wow! Do I smell like me?" "No! You reek!" "Excuse you?" He bolted upright, suddenly hyper-aware of his body. "I'm serious," she laughed. "You smell like a boy who tried to put on cologne for the first time." "Is it bad?" "Be honest." "I'm not about to sit next to you during our gaming sessions." Cat sighed, defeated. "May I borrow your shower?" "You know you don't need to ask. I'll grab an extra towel." His heart warmed, as though that were the reason his cheeks were pink. "Thanks." "No problem, partner." Her voice trailed along the title, lingering in the air like a half-gate. On one hand, he could jump over it. On the other hand, it might be a gate meant to prevent him getting into a certain area of her life. If only she knew who he was. If she was trying to figure out who he was, couldn't he tell her? That would be easiest, wouldn't it? Wait. What if she wasn't trying? What if there was some part of her, subconscious or not, that didn't even want to think that Adrian was Cat Noir? Not this again. Now the thought was there, rotting in the back of his brain as he scrubbed layers of deodorant that could last a common man 2 weeks out of his armpits. Was he the problem? Or did she not jump to conclusions like he did? Sure, he didn't figure out she was Ladybug just from her shampoo. It's not like she was the only girl who used... He looked at the bottle on the shelf beside him, but couldn't make out the brand name. Whatever honey, vanilla shampoo and body wash she used. Sure, you can't fake the underlying person smell, but what if she didn't recognize him by smell because she didn't want to recognize him? The thought almost put him in a loop of overthinking, but instead somehow reassured him. Perhaps it wasn't that she didn't think Adrian could be Cat Noir. What if it's because she didn't want to know who Cat Noir is, despite her actions, as it might change what they had between them? Granted, what they had already changed because of him, but it was nonetheless a more comforting thought than his original conclusion. Okay, Adrian, think straight. It's time to be a cat again. Plague's protests wrote the soundtrack of his post-shower transformation, accompanied by a plop of camembert falling to the floor. Where did he even get that anyway? Speaking of plopping, that was on his to-do list. He ran a towel across his head and let it sit there, making his way to Marinette on the chase and plopping beside her. "Did you not dry off?" she asked, flinching away from the droplets landing on her forearm. He shook his head as a response, flinging water at her as she laughed in protest. "Define dry." "You're ridiculous!" Marinette grabbed the towel off his head and gestured to him to sit on the floor in front of her. He nearly purred as silence passed between them, her hands massaging his scalp as she towel-dried him. "Do you remember fighting stormy weather?" Cat asked, eyes closed to the world. "Yeah? Why?" It was the first time we'd fought in that kind of environment. Just running through the storm-darkened streets. Not quite amateurs, but still rookies when it came to the whole superhero vigilante thing. Yeah? Why? She slung the towel over her shoulder, finding a comb from who knows where before running it through his hair. I think I've been chasing that high ever since. So wild and careless and scandalous. Play Kingdom Hearts with Oreos in your bra. Kat's eyes flung open, and he jerked his head to look at her. The comb tugged in pain, restricting his movements. He looked at her, mouth open but not gaping, as he tried to process her response. It'll feel wild, Marinette continued, a grin on her face telling him she knew how ridiculous she was. And careless. And, she lowered her voice, scandalous. He could all but hold his laughter in. Well, we don't have Oreos. Will chocolate chip cookies work? You get to decide what bra cookies are, Kat. You're the master of your fate. And do they have to be store-bought or homemade? Well, we are above a bakery. Also, I don't have a bra. That sounds like a personal problem. He unzipped the top of his suit by a few teeth. Wild, he repeated. Careless. He pulled the zipper down another two. And scandalous, he whispered. Marinette slapped a throw pillow on his chest to cover up all of the 1 centimeter, perhaps 2, of skin he exposed. Wanna go make some? Scandalous cookies? Always. Milk or dark chocolate? Kat sighed with regret. You forget we aren't allowed to bake together after last month's incident. That was your fault, and you know it. I'm not the one who decided to make a chocolate chip mountain. I'm not the one who knocked it over. Well, I'm not the one who... Actually, no. Wait. He was the one who melted chocolate all over the new butcher block countertop. Well, it was a team effort, but he took the fall for it. It didn't matter. Marinette turned on the hairdryer, and it would have blown his words out anyway. The whole hair-drying ordeal was nearly therapeutic, and his hair always had an organic shine and bounce when she was done. You smell nice, she murmured, her head all but buried in his neck as they shared a blanket. His hair was dry now, and they were curled up together watching an American show. Zoe's Extraordinary Something or Other. He couldn't remember the title. Anything with more than 2 words was too long of a title to remember. I smell like you. He rested his cheek atop her head, taking in the scent of shampoo he'd used barely an hour ago. You smell pretty. Thanks, princess. Kat adjusted his shoulder, careful to not disturb her, and wrapped his arm around her waist. She was nearly asleep, and it was almost time to leave. But he wanted more, even if it were mere moments longer. Mere moments. He wanted more than that. Kat wanted more than this, and that scared him. For the longest time, he would have given anything to be here, with her, like this, but somehow he'd warped. This wasn't good enough. He must be the most selfish person in the world, because somehow his heart ached even more than before he knew who she was. He was greedy for her. Greedy in a way he couldn't articulate, and greedy in a way he was sure no other person was for another ever before. Good night, he whispered, hearing her breaths deepen. He turned his head, lips hovering millimeters above her forehead before pressing them to her skin. It was soft, as to not disturb her, but it laced his chest like a warning sign, and he had to get up to take a breath of air that didn't smell like her shampoo. Okay, Adrian. Breathe. You'll be okay. It's not like she's broken your heart or anything. Calm down. Calm the cat down. But how could he be calm when he was washed in her shampoo? Thank you so much for listening. Chapter 3 is on its way. In the meantime, you can check out these other videos for more fan fiction. I'll catch you next time. Also, if you've made it this far, comment honey vanilla shampoo. Okay, thanks, bye.